Hi guys, in this video I want to talk about how to optimize your website for SEO in Next.js. Let's do it. Let's just quickly look at the documentation from Next.js, and by the way I'm talking about Next.js 14 here using the app router. So as you can see here, there are two ways of exporting the metadata object. You can do it in a static way or in a dynamic way. The static way, you would do it from the layout.js file or from any page.js, and then you basically just add the information this way. The dynamic one you would use in a situation where you first have to fetch whatever dynamic data. You would then wait for that, and then you would use that information for the metadata object. So in this situation, for instance, you fetch the product first, and then you use that product information for the title or whatever other information you would use it for down here. So here's an example from one of my websites, and as you can see, it's a static example. So you can see there's a title, description, open graph information that I'll explain in a second, Twitter information, and then there's also schema.org information. And as you can see, it's placed in the layout.js file. So that means that this one would be shown on all pages unless I add something more specific for a certain page. And this is the page we were just looking at, and I have the inspection tab open here, as you can see. And if you then search for title, you then see all the information here. But a faster way of doing this is actually to use an extension called SEO META in one click. Click on that one, and then you quickly see the title, the description, and so on. And also if you go to social, then you can see here the open graph information that I was talking about just before. That is very important also always to have, because that is what it looks like when you share your link on Facebook or on Messenger or on WhatsApp. So it actually also includes a title, a description, and an image. So always add that as well. And as I was showing just before, you should also add structured data to your pages when it is relevant though. So let's just have a look again at the documentation here. So here you can see that Next.js is writing that you should add structured data. For example, you can use it to describe a person, an event, an organization, a movie, a book, a recipe, and many other types of entities. And they then recommend adding it as a script in the layout.js or on any page.js. So basically you would add the JSON LD object up here, and then you would add the script down here like this. And one way to check if you added your structured data the correct way is to go to schema.org, and then they have this validation tool where you can quickly add whatever page and then run a test and then see if they identify your structured data. And as you can see here in this example, they did find the structured data, and you can see there are no errors, no warnings, so that's great. So always add structured data if you can, if it makes sense, because Google or any other search engine might use your structured data to highlight your content in certain ways. Then we have the Robots.txt file, which is a file you should basically always add to whatever website you ever make. So it's basically an instruction file for search engine crawlers where you tell them what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. So let's take this example down here, for instance. Here you can see that you're allowing this route, but you're disallowing the private route. And then you're linking into the sitemap on your page, which we will get back to in just a minute. The easiest way to make a robots.txt file in Next.js is basically just to make a txt file called robots.txt and then add it to your public folder in your project, and that's it. The thing about robots.txt files is that they generally don't change that often, so doing it that way would be totally fine. But there are also options of generating a robots.txt file in Next.js. You would basically do it this way, and the output would be, well, the same. And what you can also do is to exclude certain crawlers from indexing or reading your content at all. So if you wanted to, for some reason, exclude the Googlebot, for instance, you could be doing it this way. Last but not least, you should also always add a sitemap.xml to your project in Next.js, because it basically just makes it easier for Google to understand your pages, and you might get more organic traffic that way. So if you have a small project with not that many pages, it's very easy. You just do it in a manual way as seen here, and you add that to your public folder. But of course, if you're working on something a little bit more complex as such, maybe a project with many hundreds of pages or maybe even many thousands of pages, you will have to generate your sitemap, of course. So let me show you an example. So This is a sitemap I'm generating for a marketplace that I built. And the reason why it's complex is, first of all, because it's a marketplace, so sellers can put up listings whenever they want. So that means that there are new pages every day. But it's even more complex because the marketplace comes in 5 different language versions. So that means that every time a seller puts up a new listing, it is being generated in 5 different languages. So English, Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, and Finnish. So let me show you what I'm doing here. So I have 2 functions, fetch listings and fetch seller profiles, right? So first of all, I'm generating the 5 language versions of the root domain, which is this one. So this one is being added to the sitemap in the 5 different languages. Then I'm basically doing the same for each static page. So these are the static pages that are not changing that often. They are also being generated then in 5 different language versions. Then I'm doing the same for all listings, and then I'm doing the same for all seller profiles. So that is the way I'm generating the sitemap for this marketplace. And once you added your Robots.txt and your sitemap to your site, go to your site to check if everything looks correct, right? So you just go to the URL and then add /robots.txt/sitemap.xml, and then you should see them as you see here and here. And what you should always also remember to do is to go to Search Console and then go to Sitemaps and then add your sitemap here so that Google basically knows where it is located, and then it will basically look at it regularly. That is it, guys. I hope you learned something. I've added all the examples and links in the description, but always just write me if you have any questions and I will get back to you ASAP. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.